What's going on, everybody? This is Josh McCarty and Stokes from Built in Buffalo. And today we are going to talk about Tremaine Edmunds, middle linebacker for the Buffalo Bills. Stokes, in 2018, the Buffalo Bills found their franchise quarterback in Josh Allen. And I think buried in that lead is they also found somebody who went on to play in 3 Pro Bowls for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those understated things that you see when it comes to the such a big hit being Josh Allen, but with Tremaine Edmonds, he's been very very steady for this team, and it's hard to believe his age.
That is the absolute mind-boggling thing of all of this. He was so young when he's drafted. He's been in the league for 5 years now, and he is still only 24 years old. He will be 25 in May. His contract is up, and it is time for Tremaine Edmonds to get paid, and get paid he will. The question is, will it be the Buffalo Bills who extend him? And I think, Stokes, this is going to be something where even though the Bills are short on cap space, they're going to think long and hard about creative ways to find a way to keep Tremaine Edmonds in the fold. Not only is he a first-round pick that they aggressively traded up for in the 18 draft, but he's been productive. We mentioned the 3 Pro Bowls. PFF had him have his by far best season this year, 81.9 overall on defense, 90 in coverage. There is the concern, though, that even though I think Edmonds has been solid for the last 3 or 4 years, that is not the consensus opinion, Stokes. And there are some that think this was by far his best year. And the concern is that he just wait for a contract year to play his best ball.
In the previous years, I may have mentioned to you that like Tremaine Edmonds will end the game with 12 tackles, but all of them were 7, 8, 9 yards down the field, and so he's racking up stats, but he's giving up a bunch of yards when doing so. But it was very very noticeable when he was out there this year, whether it came to defending the run or getting in those pass lanes, and him being 6'5" and having long arms, it makes those over the middle passes really difficult for quarterbacks, and that his size and his speed is really 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 good for his position.
And if we want to have some hard truth about this Bills roster right now, we all know how talented we thought they were coming into 2022. But when you look under the hood at some of the young talent on this team, players 26 and under, there are really only 2 guys who you can say are 26 and under and a star in this league: Josh Allen and Tremaine Edmonds. Now, say what you want about Tremaine Edmonds, 3-time Pro Bowler, and PFF grades him very highly. I think he's at least on the verge of being a star, and he's young. So if the Bills let him go, that is a building block they're let going out the door. But the other conversation when it comes to linebacker, Stokes, is what is the value of an off-ball linebacker? We saw Roquan Smith get $20 million with the Ravens, and the analytics community thinks that that's a bad value for the Ravens because no individual off-ball linebacker is that important to a team. Where do you stand on the off-ball linebacker decision? And do you think the fact that Sean McDermott's system historically has prioritized a rangy coverage linebacker like a Luke Kuechly, does that work in Edmonds' favor in this case?
I think that when you ask McDermott, he would say, "Yeah, I really need this kind of guy for my system." But I think it all depends on how it's put. It's like, okay, well, if we pay Tremaine Edmonds, we can't pay Poyer, we can't re-sign, we can't do anything new for Milano or anything for any cornerbacks coming in. So if it's presented that way to McDermott, I think he could find his way to move off of Tremaine Edmonds. But at the same time, when you look in-house for the people that would potentially replace Tremaine, it is not ideal.
They did spend a 3rd-round pick last year on Terrell Bernard. He is undersized, and I don't know that he necessarily standing next to Tremaine Edmonds would pop off the screen to you as a direct replacement for him. And it does feel like he fell out of favor in his rookie year. You saw A.J. Klein come in off the street less than 7 days as a Bill and play all the snaps in Detroit instead of Bernard when Edmonds was out on Thanksgiving. So it seems like at least to this point, there's no reason to think that you can just pencil in Bernard as the direct replacement for Edmonds if he leaves. Spotrac has his market value at 4 years, 44 million, 11 million per. That feels light to me, Stokes, especially given what Roquan Smith made. I just don't see a world where Tremaine Edmonds makes about half as much per year as Roquan Smith.
Yeah, I can't envision that at all. I can't see his agent going to anyone and thinking that he'll just say, "Hey, he's 25, he's 6'5", three Pro Bowls. Just make your offer," and that's just it. Like there's no sort of selling that he has to do on his player because of all those other things that make him such a good player. So I don't think 11 million is something that you would see for him. I'd be shocked if that happens. Because Roquan he's an amazing linebacker, and Tremaine Edmonds does a lot of the things that Roquan does.
And honestly, given how young he was when he came into this league, Tremaine Edmonds is kind of an anomaly. It's not very often you see a 25-year-old former first round pick with extremely high end athletic traits, 3 Pro Bowls on his resume, hit the open market. It just doesn't work out that way very often. So I think Tremaine Edmonds is absolutely going to cash in. And the other linebackers on the market are Levante David, David Long, Jermaine Pratt, TJ Edwards. None of them pop off the screen as much to me as Tremaine Edmonds. Levante David has been a fantastic pro, but age is working against him relative to Edmonds. Another piece of this conversation, Stokes, Matt Milano is also an expensive linebacker. The next 2 years, he counts against the cap 13 million per, but he's going to be 30 when his contract's up. I could see a scenario where the Bills extend Tremaine Edmonds, but make the contract in a way that while Milano's on the books the next 2 years, it's a little easier to stomach. And then the heavy money comes after Milano's gone. So they're not paying 2 expensive linebackers at once.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to creative cap management, Brandon Bean does that very, very well. So I could definitely see that. It's just a matter of what he has to do to sweeten the pot to make it beneficial for Tremaine Edmonds, whether it's signing bonus money to have it built that way. But I could see that if he is extended, it would be built in a way to help the team over the next couple years.
All right, Stokes, put on your GM cap. You're Brandon Bean. What are you doing this offseason with Tremaine Edmonds?
I feel like I would do my best to get him back, to extend him, but I feel like if I can't make anything happen, I would consider the franchise tag. I don't want to, but he's a player that I don't feel would be great to lose. I feel like when you try to replace a player like him, it's going to be very difficult to do. So give us another year to try and get things figured out. You don't want to threaten him with it, but you don't want to also blindside him with it either. But I feel like I'd try my best to get a reasonable deal done. If I can't do it, I'd probably franchise tag him.
When you look at some of the restructures available to the Bills and what they're projected to be, it feels like the Bills will have about 20 million ish in cap room when they're done cutting corners, making restructures, making extensions, and doing all the work they need to do before free agency. And that franchise tag for Tremaine Edmonds is just north of 20 million. It is high because linebackers are not distinguished between middle linebacker, off ball linebackers, and edge rushing linebackers like TJ Watt. So it's all grouped into one. That's why they're so expensive. So I agree. I think the Bills could use that as a last resort. I agree with you, though. It sounds like you're optimistic. I think the Bills are going to try to get this done. They will have to draw the line somewhere, obviously. If somebody's willing to just go to a completely different universe to get Tremaine Edmonds and the Bills can't pay that much, then it is what it is. But they drafted this guy in the first round. They traded up to get him in the first round. They identified him as the captain of their defense his second year in the league when he was 20 years old. He was a full-time starter his first year in the league. He's been the quarterback of the defense all 5 years. And this year, people finally saw how valuable he is. I think the Bills will get this done. It's not going to be comfortable because they don't have a lot of cap room to work with. And I think we all want to see them start to prioritize some assets on the offensive side of the ball. I think this is the one exception, and they find a way to keep Edmonds in-house. What do you think? Let us know in the comments if you think Tremaine Edmonds is going to stay with the Buffalo Bills this offseason. And please, please, please like this video and do not forget to subscribe to Built in Buffalo on YouTube. That is the best way to get notifications every single time we drop Buffalo Bills content this offseason. We will see you next time on Built in Buffalo Quick Hits.